live, you are live.
Good morning everybody. It's a very blustery cold morning out here and I've yet to get out of bed because I don't think it's going to warm up at all, and although it's only 14 degrees Celsius, which is about 54 Fahrenheit, you know, for us we consider that to be perishingly cold. There's a nasty wind blowing and you could see that the clouds are scudding over the sky, and it's very difficult to sort of raise oneself from the reclining sleeping position. And now that we have a boat to drive around in with a special bed in the back, well, it's just very comfortable to sit over here. So for the next 3 hours, I'll be conducting my safari from where I'm sitting here. Now, please do remember, you are live, which means, or we are live, semi, and that means that you can talk to us at any stage, and please do so during the course of the next 3 hours. Hashtag Safari Live if you'd like to talk to us. My name is James Hendry. I will be your safari guide for the day, and on camera today is Hoppy Pasfoot, aka Jean-Andre Gerding. His foot is looking much better, you'll be pleased to know. I'm not really going to lie here the whole drive, everybody. I'm just trying to be vaguely amusing, because it is Sunday after all. Sorry about that. Brian left this blanket in the car and I thought it was being put to good use. Anyway, it's not that unpleasant out here. In fact, it's not unpleasant at all. But it is quite blustery. And out tracking just around here is Herbert, so we can't really drive off at the moment. I think he's just gone, so I can see him there, he's just up the road. We're following up on the lions. Now, the male lion and the female lion, who were attempting to mate very poorly yesterday evening, came into this area. There was a herd of buffalo knocking about the place. They've walked off. So we're going to see if we can find those lions for the next little while. We might be lucky. We might find something else. On the other vehicle, Brent Leo Smith, he's knocking about the middle of this reserve and probably heading to Cheetah Plains, but he'll tell you a bit more about that just now. Let's head up the road here and see what Herbert has to tell us about the tracks. That was a very pleasant opening, everybody. I did enjoy it very much. It's actually horribly uncomfortable. I was lying on a battery and a spare tire. I think Herbert went up there. Yes, there he is. There was that pillow still in the car. Yes, Brian's pillow and Brian's blankie. So there in front of us you can see a human form, that is Herbert, and he has found clearly the tracks going up the road. And he's going to come along with us during the course of the morning, and it's just great having a proper tracker around, because of course while we are presenting and discovering little things, he is much more skilled at looking into the bush and finding the small scuff marks and tracks that lions and leopards leave, and of course then following them through the bush. And these are traditional skills that have to be maintained because they are so amazingly important for conservation. So I think the tracks are probably going straight up the road. Maya straight?
I chicken so.
Okay. Herbert says they're on Zoe's road. So they're not going up here. Alright, in the meantime, we'll keep you posted. Let's go across to Brent and find out what his plans for the morning are.
Welcome to a very chilly and windy sunrise safari here on Safari Live. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have Gerard on camera with me today, and we are heading east towards Cheetah Plains. There's a report of the sticks and cubs very close to the cut line between Annette's and Cheetah Plains. Fingers crossed that they're going to come over and visit us on Cheetah Plains. And also, isn't it nice to get James Hendry out of his kingdom of the tent and experience the cold that the rest of us face on a daily basis? I'm quite excited. Just a few more updates for you. Queen Karula is still to the south, somewhere near the Mwati River, which we're about to cross, but she is below our boundary. And I think here are the tracks of that big herd of buffalo. The lions maybe made an attempt on last night, and they've skedaddled all the way through. And it is very windy and very cold, so cold in fact that I have not one got 2 hot water bottles, and they're very lovely. I think they're my best friends at the moment. If you want to know a little bit about what's going on, what we're doing, we're on a live African safari, suffering the cold to bring you the joys of the wilderness. And if you want to ask me any questions about the wilderness, please pop me a message by using the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter, and I'll try and answer your question to the best of my abilities. But of course, it's not only about the big hairies and scaries, and we're always on the lookout for any interesting thing, from the tiniest little insect to the largest tree. And of course, everything in between. And I'm very confident that James and Herbert are spot on those lion tracks, and they're going to try find them. So it sounds like they came onto quarantine and gave those buffalo a big scare. Well, we are looking or hoping to find those Styx cubs, those little bundles of cuteness. Lion cubs are possibly one of the cutest things in the whole of the African bush. They might just be cuter than leopard cubs. And Anna Marie says, get to Cheetah Plains ASAP. So we're going to do a few spots as we drop through the Mulwanini River, so that we might have a bit of signal breakup, but we're going to stay with us as we race. I'll make my foot heavy, Anna Marie, to get to. I even changed gear to go faster there. I'm going to let you rush around with me while we go there, and while we're moving there, there's a chance we could find anything. But as I said, please send me your comments and questions using the hashtag #SafariLive, and hopefully I'll be able to answer them. It's always important to check the big junctions of roads for tracks of animals. Road at the moment, this is a main access road, very straight, but a lot of the main game drive roads are built on big game trails, and that's why they were put there in the first place, because the animals like to use them. And as you can see, the sky, fortunately, we're getting a bit of cloud breakup, and it looks like the cold front's not going to hang with us for too long. And I'm really hoping the wind departs, because it's not so bad being cold, but being cold and windswept, you know, it's not good for my hair. It causes knots. So, just want to have a careful look around here. This section is part of Tundi's area. Now, if you're wondering who Tundi is one of the dominant female leopards we see on SafariLive, and she holds territory to the east and south of Queen Karula, who's the dominant on Djuma. So she's often seen in this area. There's a waterhole to my south, and she's often coming through. I just want to check very carefully if there are any tracks. And of course, I'm just teasing Anna Marie by going slower. Very close to our southern traversal. There's a Chile Impala. And getting very a lot of the animals are quite nervous in this weather. And the wind affects their senses. Obviously, it's a very swirly wind. It's affected, more the hearing's affected, and quite jumpy.
So we don't know exactly where the track is on at this stage, and we're just having a discussion as to where Herbert thinks they've gone. Taxon is now also on the case. We'll probably drop off Herbert here to go off on foot and see what he can find. Having a little bit of trouble with our signal at the moment. One of the batteries has flattened. Good morning, good morning. Afshen. Minjani kwalaan. Pukira nangwin. Okay.
I don't know if the ending that's happening.
All right. I go mangin chumul.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it. I have it.
What time did you guys get up this morning?
Oh, about 3:30. Yeah.
Oh gosh, and what did you see?
Oh, nothing. We've seen a couple of buffalo dungs.
How exciting. And how do you do that?
Should we go back for breakfast already?
Live TV?
Yes, well, people are enjoying the sight of live dung, and I mean we found some bacteria and one or two termites, which is excellent.
Some wild Africans in the
Exactly. Yeah.
So you thought it necessary to tell Texan that all
Exactly, so that you might too enjoy what we have been seeing, because to keep that from you would be very, very sad.
So what creatures did you find in the dung? Did you find any little interesting creatures eating the dung?
One termite,
Wow.
very
It wasn't
cold.
a termite, it was a red ant.
No, it was a termite. I assure you it was a termite. Have a drive. So that's a guest driving with Texan out of Weirtela, and Weirtela, of course, is one of the camps here at Djuma. Everyone's a joker on Sunday mornings. So. Okay. Right, we're going to leave Herbert on the tracks here. He has a radio and he's armed with a small stick. And then we'll just kind of see if we don't pick anything up. La. And yeah. Galago. Okay. There goes Herbert, everybody. And he will take refuge in the tent, I suppose, if he gets cold. Ooh, look. That's a martial eagle, everyone. Flying at this time of the day, not easy at all. But the biggest eagle that we get here. Oh, wonderful. You can just see the little paleness on the underside of the belly there. Black head, black underwings, and the size, of course, absolutely massive. Probably about 2.5 meters across at the wingspan. I'm just going to check that, actually, because I'm always amazed by how much bigger the wingspan of these birds tends to be. Let me just find the errant eagle. Where is it? There it is. Doubly click. So wingspan, yeah, 2.5 meters, 2.4 meters. That's in feet. Well, 2.4 meters in feet. John Ray's about 9 feet, I think. 8 feet. 8 feet. That is massive. And it only weighs 5 kilograms, so about 10 or 11 pounds, which always amazed me. I always think something that large should be a little bit heavier. Look at it hovering. It's very unusual for a bird to be flying at this time of the day, of this size to be flying at this time of the day, simply because they do so rely on heat and thermals. But when there's a wind blowing like this, they can balance and hang in the wind. He's diving. He's diving. He's going for something. Ha! You think he's taking off again? Let's just see if he pops up the other side. I think he's nailed something. Quite possibly a reptile like a monitor lizard, that's what they like to eat. They might have nailed something even smaller. You know what, I think it's worth just taking a trip around there and having a look-see. Wasn't that amazing? It's very unusual to see, like I said, this time of the day. Brilliant. Okay, we'll go around there. Before we go around there, though, I just want to do a quick turn past the camp. Not the camp, past the Gallagher pan over there. And let's just see if they haven't gone, the lions, I mean, past there. That's certainly where they were heading yesterday before they heard the buffalo. And I just wonder if they aren't around that area. We'll just keep an eye out over here for tracks. Now we are going to go past the final control, so just be aware. So now, I mean, the big thing about coming to visit a place like this, of course, is that you are in the middle of the bush. So you don't stay out of the bush. Here we are, tracking lions. We're going past Weirtela camp on the left-hand side. We're going past the final control on the right-hand side. And so lions and leopards and hyenas and buffalo and elephant and all the other animals live right in close proximity with us. Wave at Kirsty, and who's in there with her today? Louise. I don't know who's in there. It was Louise. Good guess. Hello, Louise. So we just nip past here and down towards the pan. Then we'll go across the dam wall and go back around. Of course, those were in the process of getting amorous with each other, which means that their moves will probably not be quite as predictable as they would normally. Not that they are actually ever that predictable. Tracks of a male leopard here, but these are from yesterday. At some stage, so these aren't very fresh.
Okay, cool.
I think we've got tracks here, guys. Herbert, do you copy Herbert? I just need to tell Herbert. Herbert, I've got tracks of at least one female here at the Gallagher Pan, not Gallagher Pan, at Weirtela Pan. I'm going to go and check Bulba Road. So they may have come down here and then moved away again. I don't know. We'll go around and have a look. In the boat. Now we have to negotiate this fairly tricky piece of road in the boat. Now, Berlin, you're in Texas and you're gets out by because the waste of time. Brent has got signal on Cheetah Plains. I'll keep you updated once we get there.
We've arrived on Cheetah Plains, and I've got the best news, which makes me the most excited. Unfortunately, it's not any cats. So it's the fact that we are the only people on the whole of Cheetah Plains. This is our own private reserve for the morning, so hopefully it's going to be very productive, very exciting. So I know that no one else has driven on the road, so any tracks we see, we're going to be the first ones to see them. And it is quite nice to have your own little private area for the morning. Now I am listening to the guys tracking the Styx cubs behind us. And I'm going to wait until they say they're much closer to the boundary before I shoot there. There's already 3 cars following those tracks, so it would be a silly utilization of our time and energy to go check where there's already 3 cars checking. So we're going to go to the east and see what's happening on those open areas. And I haven't seen cheetah in a long time, but I have seen something that is quite spectacular, and I definitely haven't seen cloud formations like this in a long time. So we've got the little cumulus from the cold front sitting quite low, but above it, look at the cirrus, or that could be even ultra cirrus or cirrus stratus. So if we zoom into, here we go, we're going to zoom now in between the fluffy clouds, and we're going to look behind the fluffy clouds and look at that. That is actually ice. Can you believe that? That is ice that is up in the air behind the fluffy clouds. It's absolutely incredible. And if we come out and down a little bit to the left, and a little bit more, a little bit more. Okay, stop, zoom there, and zoom beyond the fluffy clouds, and it's almost like crisscrosses if we focus in on that particular spot there. There we go. We're just going to get the focus. It is quite difficult because of all the other clouds around. And you just see that incredible icicles up in the air. Look at that. Isn't that absolutely spectacular? It's so spectacular, in fact, that I cannot resist. And normally I try make sure my photographs of animals, I don't do much landscape, I leave that to James, but I think these clouds warrant a snap of their own. Now, where's that crisscrossing again? It is absolutely stunning. The light coming through there, I mean, it might be cold and windy, but views like this just make it worthwhile. And even better news, I am going to change my plan slightly. It sounds like tracks of those lions are coming towards our boundary. I'm not going to prematurely rush to the area. I'm going to do a little loop. So I think a very good midday, or maybe late, or mid-afternoon to Joey, who's in Australia. Joey would like to know, are lion cubs easier to relax than leopard cubs? Are they more relaxed? Are they braver? And how long does it take them to get used to vehicles? Well, because they're in a social environment, once they've joined the pride, they become relaxed to the vehicles quite a lot quicker than leopard cubs. Also, because of that social environment, makes them easier to find, so you do spend more time with them early on. So maybe not braver, but they're definitely, actually I think they are braver, especially when they're surrounded by all the other members of the pride. So I think it's the same as a leopard cub is far more brave when its mom's there, and the same principle applies to lions. Okay, let us go down here. Now I have been checking this western section of Cheetah Plains on a almost bi-weekly basis for the chance of those cubs, and I mean, Wiem and I sat on the boundary looking at that one female down to the west of us, and Jamie that afternoon got a sighting of the cubs. But I think it's about time we have cubs running around the car. I haven't had a photograph of a lion cub since the last time the Sticks had cubs, and that was a bit of a sad story, but it is part of life out here. Those cubs got killed, and Jamie actually saw one of them being carried around by the Birminghams during that very large section of turmoil during the coalition changeover. So I'm just listening to the Game Drive channel carefully. So while I'm listening to the radio, Cheryl's wondering, am I not worried about all the elephants around? Aren't they going to chase the leopards and lions? To a degree, but the leopards and lions will just run a short way before stopping. They're not going to move completely out of an area. Now, they do deal with elephants probably on a daily basis. We're not with those animals all the time. And I'm sure they have a lot to do with elephants, and get chased by buffalo and all sorts of other animals. And we're lucky enough when we're there to view it. But they have so many instinctual responses to those type of things. They've been dealing with elephants since they've been around. Modern lions have probably been around somewhere between 200 and 500,000 years in their current form. They've actually evolved at the same time as human beings actually did. So it's a very interesting relationship we have with lions. During the day, we are the dominant predator, and when you walk into them, they normally run off 99% of the time. And at night time, that relationship changes completely, and they are the dominant predator. And it's one of the reasons why when it's dark, we feel safe when we're in a cave or at home. And the world is changing, and especially people living in big cities and that, their sleep cycles and that are very different from what they would have been living out in the bush. But us who live out in the bush, we very much sort of stick to that sort of primordial time zone, that when it's dark, it's dangerous. We must get home, we must get into our cave, we must have a fire, it must be safe. Because at night, we lose all our advantage. It doesn't matter how big our brains are. We can't see in the dark. And even with a torch, we can only see a patch in the dark. Very, very interesting if you look into the simultaneous evolution of a lot of animals. Like hyenas is another really interesting one. They have very little natural fear of man. And they're nervous of you, but they will happily come into your camp and scavenge. Human beings have been messy as long as we've been around, because we're not able to eat a lot of the stuff we kill. I mean, we can't eat all the bones, we can't do any of that stuff. So hyenas have been scavenging off us for a couple of 100,000 years. That's also how the domestication of cats and dogs came about. Because of the amount of mess we make, there's always a lot of food around, and those animals were able to capitalize on our messiness. And dogs and cats have worked out in our advantage, and cats keeping pests numbers down. Dogs, strangely enough, were actually probably kept around more for an early warning system. If there was a large predator coming in the night, the dogs would pick up on it before. And that was probably why the domestication of dogs happened. But it's really, really fascinating stuff if you delve a little deeper. Okay. So we've just been chatting about the human-lion dynamic, if you want to call it that. And Sandy says, well, I've heard you guys say you're safe on the vehicle, but what about Steph and old Herbie and Jandre as they meander around the bush? Would the lions attack them? So Sandy, as I was saying, man is the dominant diurnal predator. So actually, lions are scared of us during the day. A lion at night is a completely different animal to during the day. Ooh, hyena tracks. And they're very nervous. So I'm just having a look up there now. Very nervous of people during the day. And if they do charge us on foot, it's normally a warning charge. There's no such thing as a mock charge. It's still a charge, but they're just warning. Oh, hello, those old tracks. It's been so windy, it's quite difficult to tell. No, there's old male lion tracks I saw the other day. They're very difficult to see. Okay, so no fresh tracks yet. Sorry, Sandy. So even if they do charge us when we're walking on foot, it is a very simple thing when it comes to walking lions on foot. A noisy lion is a safe lion, a quiet lion is a dangerous lion. And most times the lions will let you know before you get there because they don't want to have that confrontation. They've got hundreds of thousands of years of evolutionary knowledge saying that human beings in daylight hours are dangerous. A group of humans kill a lion. If we look at them, lions or traditionally hunted lions with spears, but in big groups, and very successfully with minimal human casualty. So the lions have this evolution knowledge and makes them very nervous of people during the day. At night is a different story. So, did you see him fly there? Just tiny little owlet. He's just, okay, just zoom. I'll show you with my finger. Oh, he flew off. I'll try to catch him again. It looked like a pearl-spotted owlet. He didn't go far. Where'd he go? Where are you, little owl? Oh, he's made an escape. It's a very interesting thing. So when you're walking in the bush on foot, it's actually not, if you know what you're doing, that's I suppose the most important thing. And fortunately, all of us out here have got lots of experience, so we know what we're doing. Sorry, I'm just listening. That is not the news I was looking for, unfortunately. So I'm just trying to listen to decipher what's happening in the game drive. It sounds like the tracks have gone south, but now there's other tracks going the other way. So I'm just listening carefully. Okay. Well, anyway, we're in the area. We're going to look. Maybe they decided to change their mind. You never know. They could find a leopard down here. So this is an area where we might see leopards we haven't seen before. So it sounds like the lions have moved away from us. So we're going to keep looking for anything else we might be able to find here in the east. And while we do that, let's go have a look what Commander Bond is up to.
So what we do have is tracks of one female going sort of the opposite direction to the way that we're going now. But the tracks of the male. So we're going to just drive up the road here and see if we don't get lucky. Herbert is safe and sound and indeed with us. So let's see what we find. Meantime, just have the honey yellow sky there. Jean-Marie, if you don't at that angle. And let's just turn off a bit here and enjoy the silence of this dawn. And you can see those crepuscular rays coming up out of the horizon there. Now, I learned something very interesting about crepuscular rays the other day. Many who belong to the sort of lunatic fringe that believe in the flat earth say, well, you see, how is it possible that if the earth was round and the sun so far away that those rays could be coming at such an angle? It's just like a light bulb when you shine it on something. And in actual fact, those crepuscular rays are completely parallel with each other. Can you see them there, Jean-Marie? Yes, there they are. You can see them completely parallel with each other, and the reason they look like they converge on one point is the same reason that when you look at a railway track going straight down in a straight direction, the tracks seem to converge So it's, you know, the longer you leave parallel lines, the more they will obviously converge, and it's the same thing with crepuscular rays. Beautiful clouds, Andre. All right, let's carry on here. We're going to drive gently up the road here, and Sandy, while we do that, let me just keep you posted on the weather pattern. We get tornadoes here. We get tornadoes in South Africa, where in this area that I don't... What was that? There must have been a kill there at some stage. So, Sandy, we get tornadoes in the flatlands of an area called Free State, and the Free State is up around like sort of the flatlands of mid. Do sometimes get tornadoes there. Another thing,
so we've reached the southern corner, or the southwestern corner of Cheetah Plains. The lions are somewhere over there to the south of us. Apparently there's a tree full of vultures as well. So, alas, they avoid me yet again, but I will get them eventually. So they can actually see them now. They found them. They can see them from the boundary, and they are south. So let us continue east. So there's always a chance that we're going to find something else down here, and I'm really hoping to find Tundi's unnamed cub. So I know if you're new, I'm throwing out all these names. Tundi. Now Tundi is the dominant female leopard around this area, and she has a cub that's independent, and it's more around here. They don't see her very often. It's a very difficult area to work. It's very thick, and there are not many roads. So there's always a chance, and the excitement of finding a new animal is obviously wonderful. Sham's son is reminding me of one of my favorite moments since I've been at Safari Live, and it was in July 2015, and we saw the Nkahuma Pride take down a Duggar boy, an old buffalo bull, live. And she's wondering, how often do we see this type of stuff? I wish we saw it more often. That, I think, is the first live lion kill we've ever captured on the drives. I know that their hunting takes place while we're cuddled up in bed in the early hours of the morning. Now, to get that kill was actually quite a process. I think that week I spent nearly 18 hours with sleeping lions. But they were hungry. We saw them attempt 4 or 5 kills. So on average, if you're sticking with lions, you've got to see them fail 9 times before they actually catch something. So the hunting success rate is only around sort of 12 to 15%. Normally, I think in this drought year it probably might raise to maybe 20, 25%. But again, still very, very rare to see that during the day and in a nice open area where you can see everything. So I'm just going to warn you, I'm about to go through this little river system in front of us, and it is one of our notoriously bad gremlin spots. I think they live there. So I'm going to try and get my gremlin stick out. Maybe I'll use this. So I'll try to beat any gremlin that comes near us. If you're new, I'm talking about gremlins. Gremlins are what climb into our signal and make it very bad and make the picture break up. And there are a few blind spots. So we do try to cover everywhere, but this is a very deep little river system, and it is one of our potentially bad gremlin spots. They like to inhabit it. So I'm going to try and move through this area quite quickly.
we're just trying to move this tree, everybody. Here look alive. And ready, 1, 2. Oh. No. And that's you so. Okay. We're going to leave Herbert to go off on foot here, and we'll go round because clearly we're not going to get past here. It's very inconvenient of the elephants to do that for us. Right, so we'll see if we got more signal for the next 5 minutes. We'll see what happens. Lion track somewhere around here, but let's see what else we can find. It's always nice to do a bit of exercise on a chilly morning like this. It's not warm yet. I don't think it's going to get warm. What do you think, Jean-Andre?
Quite pleasant.
Quite pleasant. Jean-Andre, of course, likes this weather because he's from the Cape, where the weather is universally foul. And so, for him, this is a balmy and wonderful day. Not sure. Now, we were discussing weather patterns, and I was telling you that you do get tornadoes here every so often. Not in this area, but you get them up in the Highveld, which is the highlands of South Africa, the flatlands. Now, hurricanes, of course, we don't get here, and you don't get hurricanes anywhere on the Indian Ocean. A hurricane is the weather pattern that is exactly the same as a cyclone, which we might get off the east coast of Mozambique. So a cyclone and a typhoon and a hurricane are the same weather pattern. It just depends on where you happen to be in the world that they are called different things. So where you are, on the Atlantic coast or the East Atlantic coast of the States, that's where they're called hurricanes. The same weather pattern caused by those sort of vortex-like storms created by, well, various different kinds of meteorological phenomena. Off the east coast of the Indian Ocean here are called cyclones, and I think in the South China Sea they're called typhoons. I think that's how it works. We don't get them nearly as frequently, I don't think, as you guys do. Although, that said, I mean, there have been years when tropical cyclones come whistling up the Madagascar Straits, which is between Madagascar and Mozambique, and yeah, no, then they can get very heavy. Life can get very unpleasant if you happen to live in Madagascar or in Mozambique. Now we're going to head off towards Sydney's Dam. Well, we're not going to go all the way there because I think we'll lose signal, but we'll head sort of onto the Buffelshoek cut line, which is our northern boundary, and then back east and pick up Herbert and just see if we can't find any tracks of these lions going across the reserve. You can see very little general game around at the moment, and that is largely, of course, because there is so little, there's so much wind. It's cold, the animals will be huddling somewhere, trying to find a nice thick bush, just like I was trying to do at the beginning of the drive, when Jean-Andre rudely filmed me while I was having my morning snooze. We should be relatively safe with signal here, so I'll turn up this way. In the rear there are, Andre, one male, one female, but those tracks don't look very fresh. Let's go up onto the main road here and have a look. And by main road I obviously don't mean very main road, mainish for here. You don't see them. Now there's a nice little patch of sand just up ahead of us, so let's go and look there. Come on everybody, get off the car. Bit of exercise will be good for you, and it will also, of course, warm up your bones. I thought maybe they may have crossed here. You can see here there's some very rich sand, and the sand is an easy place to spot lion tracks. But I don't see any there. Now this is, here they are. There's a male. I don't know where his consort is, but the male's going down this way. Yeah, he's definitely headed straight down the road here. So he's come on to here and he's walked off down there, and interestingly we had only tracks of one female going, sort of knocking about where Herbert is, and we were thinking maybe that the male just, wasn't walking on the road when we had the tracks. So let's head down this way. I'm not sure how long the signal will last, but I think it's probably worth just going to have a quick look and seeing if we can't see where these male tracks go. I hope you enjoyed our little walk. You can get back in the car and sit down now. Well done. Chandra, you just sit exactly where you are, all right? Because your little foot is very sore still, isn't it? Yes. Now, Maddie in Scotland, a very nice question from you, and it's a good one. You say, I was speaking about the art of tracking and it being passed on, and whether or not you want to know if it is dying with better education, different career choices. Obviously, following animals is not necessarily what's going to make a living these days. Maddie, I think that's exactly what's going on. It absolutely is dying. Is it a bad thing? I think it's a sad thing, but maybe that's just nostalgia and maybe I just need to get over it. But there are many people. I have a very, very good friend who runs something called the Tracker Academy, and the Tracker Academy is an NGO that spends a lot of money and time training trackers. Now, trackers are quite apart from just being a great source of skill for tourists who come for as long as tourism exists, trackers will exist. But, as technology goes, I certainly see it.
Joining us for the unveiling or the exploration of the massive open area that's coming up. And this is the spot where we've seen the cheetah the most often, and we haven't seen cheetah in quite a while, so really hoping we don't just see tracks and we actually see an animal. Now I'm just going to go over this bump and I'm going to switch off the engine and we're going to coast down the hill towards the open area. So I want you to send all the positive energy to the Cheetah Plains open area. Hopefully there is something fascinating there. If not, it is a beautiful view. Okay, now I'm scanning as we come through. We can see the vast open area, and I'm seeing it. But with these big open areas, it's always worthwhile having a glass. Now, when I say a glass, I think it's an old military term, which means stopping and glassing with your piece of glass, which in my case is my binoculars. And in your case, it's going to be Gerard glassing with the camera for you. Cheetah are one of the hardest of the big cats to spot when they are not moving, because they lie very, very flat. So there we go. We're going to have a look across this open area. Gerard's going to show it you with the camera, and I'm going to use my binoculars. Not much happening, especially with this wind. And I'm sure you can hear it on the top mic. It's gusting wind. Okay, so let's carry on to the next section of the open area, maybe a bit more luck there. Now, we've been talking about success rates with hunts and killing, etc. Matthew's wondering who's got higher success rates, lions lioness? Well, Matthew, it's about the same. Again, it's about 12 to 15%. When hunting big game like giraffe or hippo or buffalo, the success rate is improved by having a male lioness because they're physically that much stronger. But again, when they're by themselves, it's about the same as the lioness. Oh, sorry, my ear is falling out. The wind is buffeting. And to show you how strong the wind is, if I take my hat off, you can see really blowing. That was a bad idea. That was cold. Now my ears are cold. Now there's very little water in this area, so our plan is, while we're down here, once we finish checking the open plains, I'm going to check the Kruger boundary, and then I'm going to go through to the only 2 bits of water that are on this eastern side of Cheetah Plains. Cheetah Plains pan and 3 in a row pan, and hopefully we will find something there. I mean, there's not even the normal hornbills that we see. Oh, there they are, and we've got some lapwings. I was wondering, we almost always see a hornbill. Oh, and it's flying away now, but we've got, oh, everything. Here we go. They didn't fly too far, fortunately. Some crowned lapwings. Now, all the lapwing species really like this open areas. And I'm trying to see quite often, sometimes you might see them have a chick. But it doesn't look like they have a chick at the moment. We also have seen a bird, and only once, a Temix corsa, which is a smaller than a lapwing that also likes these open areas. And I'm hoping we'll be able to find some interesting birds and some new birds for the bird lists. But unfortunately, this really windy weather is not great for birding. The majority of the species are going to be tucked up, fluffed up in a little ball in the tree. Okay, let me just... Now, not only do we see cheetah here, we often see ostrich. We haven't seen them for a while. And Christopher, hi Christopher, who's in Arizona, he's wondering when we're going to see ostrich again. Christopher, if I knew, I'd be very happy, but I'm not sure. I'm going to have a quick look in this little basin here and just let Carrot know our aerial's fallen down as well. It's going to be interesting. Now, ostrich like dry environments, arid environments. So not as water dependent as a lot of other creatures, but hopefully they will make an appearance. And one thing that's bantered about a lot between cameramen and presenters is the fact that when are we going to see a cheetah chasing an ostrich? Because cheetah like ostrich meat. I've seen them hunt ostrich all over Africa, actually. I've seen them in South Africa, in Zululand. I've seen them do it in Botswana, in the Kalahari Desert. I've seen them do it in the Okavango Delta. I've seen them do it in Tanzania and Kenya. Now, I've never seen them do it in the Sabi Sands or the Greater Kruger. So there we go. That's definitely one we're going to have to hopefully find. Cheetah chasing ostrich. Literally, I was just saying to Gerard, we've only seen Steenbok tracks. My earpiece seems to be giving me a bit of grief at the moment. And that should hold. one of the very exciting things about this particular little area we're about to go through now, it is where we had our first ever pangolin sighting on the live drives, and it is not uncommon to see pangolin again and again in similar areas. So I'm always on the lookout for the pangolin when we come towards this area. Now it's a very cold morning, so maybe that pangolin's still out and about. Well, at least, you know, literally the only fresh tracks we've seen are for a steenbok. Everything else is quite old. Unfortunately, I've just heard that there are tracks of Nkanyini, the dominant female leopard in the eastern section here, and unfortunately they've crossed out of our traverse area, but there's still a chance that there could be a male around. And as I said, we've got the whole of Cheetah Plains to ourselves. We are the only vehicle. Isn't that wonderful? So every road we drive on, no one else has driven here yet today. We're going to continue scouring the east for any form of animal with a heartbeat. While we do that, let's see if James is having a little more success than us.
Okay, copy. Right, lion tracks have gone north. Sorry about, I forget exactly what we were talking about when I last saw you. But we're here looking at some clouds, and we're looking at some cirrus clouds. Those are the wispy ones at the top, also known as the mane's, at least the mare's tail. Why it should be a mare and not a stallion, I don't know, but there it is, there's the mare's tail. And they're indicative of cold weather. Well, we could have told you that without those clouds, of course, and they're apparently made of little frozen icicles. Deep, very high up in the atmosphere there, and indicative of the beginnings of a cold front. Well, I think we're well past the beginnings. Something has just walked across the road in front of us. It was large and grey. I think it was an elephant. Let's just go and have a look and see. It's quite nice to look at an animal, don't you think, Jandre? Yes. Very nice. See if we can maintain signal for more than 2.5 minutes. We will drive a little bit carefully along here, just in case we don't spot some tracks. Herbert's found some leopard tracks, so he's going to continue on foot, and we'll head off towards Buffelshoek Dam and see if there isn't anything there. I can't imagine too many will be running around trying to get something to drink this morning, but maybe. Pop up the other side here. Ah yes, tracking question from Maggie in Scotland. Now, so I was just saying that I think it is dying. I think it is important in many respects, but maybe I'm just being nostalgic. And I was just saying that I think the day will come, of course, when animals are found completely digitally, when the skills that have stood the local people of this area in such good stead for so long have been, you know, they must inevitably die out, I suppose, because of there is an elephant up ahead walking across the road, but they must inevitably die out in the digital age. I imagine that animals will be kept or viewed and found with probably chips. They'll probably be able to be found with, I mean, we've experimented with thermal imaging drones that are able to find animals, and so I think that's probably eventually where it will go. Is that sad? Yes, I guess it is sad. Is it important? I don't know. You know, there are thousands of different cultural norms that have died through the ages that because they've been replaced by technology, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And so often I think it's just nostalgia. But for the moment, a very important part of the life of many people out here is the art of tracking. And so I think for the next little while, it'll certainly be around, but I don't think it's going to be I think it's going to become an increasingly specialized skill. And it's becoming increasingly popular with, sort of Western urban dwellers who use it as a form of touching the wilderness, as a connection with wilderness. It's as you would go hiking or mountain biking or something like that, or just nature trailing in general. That kind of activity which brings you closer to the wild. Tracking is just one of those ways that you can sort of touch nature, if you like. And I think it's being increasingly used for that rather than actually practically. And that's great. That's another avenue that might keep it going for slightly longer. These elephants are running. They came through here at high speed. There they are. I think they're going perhaps towards the pan for water. I'm just going to ease our way in here because they don't look very happy. They're moving quite fast. There's one now. She's just turning to face us. I'm just going to go around the corner, give Jean-Andre a slightly better option. You know, he gets very fussy, Jean-Andre, if you don't park him in exactly the right position. Right, well, here's something of a picture of them. They are moving quite swiftly to the south. And I wonder if they're not going towards the Gallagher Pan for a drink. We will follow them down the road here. Christopher, you are wondering about that tree that Herbert and I failed dismally to move out of the road. And you want to know if the elephants have pushed it across the road intentionally in order to block it. No, I don't think so. I'm 95% sure that they just pushed it over to get at the leaves. And because they do it all over the place in the middle of the bush, and I don't think the road is a particularly important sort of part of the ecology for them. So I don't think they've blocked it because they don't want us to go there or something like that. The reason I don't dismiss that completely out of hand is that I think elephants and many animals do act in a much more conscious manner than we think they do a lot of the time. Herbert's got some tracks heading straight towards the Gallagher waterhole. I'm just going to ease down the road here. There we go, here's the matriarch now. She's listening very carefully to us. There she is. Let's just give her a chance to become calm and be calmed. See her listening? She's decided we're okay now. Now they are not just walking straight through the bush, they're walking on a game path. There's a definite path there that I think will take them into the drainage line. You can see that the bush is getting very thick there. That's because it's a dry riverbed. And I think this path will take them into it and across it and then down towards the Gallagher waterhole. They may take, a couple of hours to get there. They may have decided that this is a good spot to stop and eat their breakfast. It makes me hungry thinking about that. This cold morning. Just going to move forward slightly. Oh no, in fact, let's stay here. I think this might be quite a good place to be. Herbert is following some further tracks towards the Gallagher Pan. I think they're leopard tracks. So we're in a good area. Jester, that's a really interesting question. You say, could an elephant survive with only 3 legs in the same way that a dog could? I don't think so. There are many animals out here that I've seen, and I saw an incredible video the other day of a hyena it's paraplegic. It walks on 2 legs. It walks on only its front legs. It's the most unbelievable thing to see. It balances on just its front 2 legs and moves around. Could an elephant do the same thing? Almost certainly not, because they're not designed in the same way. They're much less flexible because they're that much heavier. If they were to lose a leg, could they survive in the wild? No, I think they wouldn't. I think they have to move too far. I've certainly never seen it. But I'd be very interested if anybody's ever heard or seen an elephant that has only 3 legs and is able to survive. Certainly, I mean, in the absence of predators, all of the carnivores can survive with 3 legs. We know that dogs and cats can very successfully get on with it. I've seen monkeys, many, many monkeys that are missing a limb. I've seen a monkey that's missing 2 limbs and surviving very happily. Well, relatively happily. Just turn that down. So, an elephant, I don't know why I get the impression they're too heavy and that they would probably topple over if they had to try and walk on 3 legs. Remember that they can't jump. Now, that may sound like a sort of a twee statement, but if you can't jump, you can't run. And if you can't run, you can't really move on fewer legs than you're supposed to have, if you know what I mean, because you've always got to be in contact with the ground. So there we go. That's why I'm going to say they are unable to live with 3 legs. I don't think they could move. This chap in here getting stuck into whatever his desired breakfast is. Zebra bush Benedict this morning. Do you like that hilarious joke there, Jean-Andre? Very good. And Blue Butterfrog, you say, despite your included in your daily dose of sarcasm from me, you need a daily dose of elephants. I feel exactly the same. I feel all is right with the world when I'm watching elephants just feeding and behaving normally. This, of course, can change to everything being very wrong with the world if an elephant decides it doesn't want you to be around and gives chase, but these ones mercifully haven't done that. And this one is just enjoying some fresh zebra wood shoots. Amazing how brilliant that colour grey is, I think. People so often ask, what should we wear on safari? What should we come out in? And I remember once going to fetch a family. They were just landed at the airstrip at the reserve I worked on. They climbed out of the aeroplane, and they were all dressed in matching safari outfits. That clearly some salesman had seen them coming a mile off and sold them. And I think he was quite put out that I wasn't dressed in the same thing. "Are we wearing the white clothes?" he said to me. I think he was from Munich. I said, "Well, yes, I'm sure they'll be fine." And of course, grey. Nobody comes on safari wearing grey because nobody really likes to wear grey, but it is actually the best colour to be. That's 3.5 tons of animal, everybody, staring at us from no more than 20 feet away, and it's almost completely invisible. And Justin, we were talking about the absence of a limb on an elephant, and I think we've decided that they would not survive without a limb. And Justin, you want to know if they would survive without a trunk. Well, we can actually answer that with some certainty and say yes, because we know of at least 3 elephants in this area that have various bits and pieces of their trunks missing. And a bull we saw the other day on Arathusa had, I think he had 80% of his trunk missing. He probably had 20% of it left. And yes, it dripped, but he was in good condition and didn't look like it was an old injury, so it looked like it had been gone for a long time. And all he did when he came into an area like this on the zebra wood, instead of kind of picking things with his trunk, he would wedge a branch between his tusks and the top of his trunk and then break it off. And then he'd kind of very skillfully slip the piece that he'd chosen into his mouth. And he was unable, if you watch this elephant now, watch how it picks up what it's going to eat. Please do what I'm trying to demonstrate, Mr. Elephant. Right, okay. Breaks it off with the foot and then puts it into the mouth. He couldn't do that. He couldn't even reach his mouth with his trunk. And so he rested it kind of on the edge, and then with his bottom jaw kind of scooped it in there, and then a lot of the rest of the time he'd actually just put his mouth over whatever he wanted to eat, so he'd get his face right into a zebrawood bush like this and just bite off. Pieces, and that was effective. And then when he drinks, he goes down on his knees. Brent's seen him drinking. He goes down on his knees to drink in much the same way that an elephant calf, who has no control over its trunk yet, would do. So yes, they can survive quite successfully. Life probably more difficult, probably won't live as long as an elephant with a full-grown trunk, and probably won't be able to enjoy, say, so for example, I mean, a great example of fruit or food that they won't be able to eat. That elephant will really struggle to eat marula fruits during the marula fruiting season, which is in January, and that's simply because they ripen on the ground and he will not be able to pick them up. He cannot reach the ground with his trunk. But that's, you know, that's one season. Let me just go forward. And they're all disappearing off into the drainage here. This is Mvubu Road, everybody. It's the road that we initially thought the lions might be on, but they are not. They are now in Buffelshoek, which we cannot go to. The wind might be dropping slightly, but the temperature certainly isn't going up. That lovely deep blue winter sky is starting to form up above us, and I'm sure in the shelter of that thick bush those elephants are enjoying the feeling of the sun on their skins. We had a lovely discussion yesterday about whether or not elephants get cold, or whether some of the smaller animals, or how being cold affects smaller versus bigger animals. And of course elephants get colder and hotter much more slowly than smaller animals. And so they won't have the same necessity to be out in the sun like something like a dwarf mongoose. Or an elephant shrew, for example. Sarah, I have to say I have absolutely no idea. You say, do I think that the elephant feet were the inspiration for the design of the NASA moon boots? John Doe, any idea? No. I don't think so, Sarah. An elephant's foot, it's actually quite an interesting question, because it brings up, you know, the design of an elephant's foot. Elephant's foot is a hugely thick callus underneath, and that's to protect it against rocks and thorns and that sort of thing that might sort of infect it, like Hoppy Pussfoot here on the back of the vehicle. He doesn't have a callus on the bottom of his foot. That's what it's designed for, and it's also designed as a shock absorber. Obviously, when an elephant moves, there's a tremendous amount of mass that must be maintained and held by those incredible feet, and so there's a lot of shock absorption. The NASA moon boot, I think, was ostensibly designed to make sure that whoever was wearing it didn't float off into space too fast. So I think they were probably quite a lot heavier than than an elephant's foot proportionately, and I think shock absorbing was the very last thing that they needed to be able to do. So Sarah, that's my guess. I may be quite wrong though. Just listening to Herbert on the radio. Nothing further. Alright, let's move on down the road here and see what we can find. Oh, but before we do that, of course, let's head across to Brent Smith, who has managed to find a fallen tree.
You've just been with elephants with James, and I want to show you how strong an elephant can be. We've seen them push over some smallish trees, but this time they've managed to push over a massive tree. So if we have a look, this is an acacia, a big knob thorn. Now, the interesting thing about these is they have a tap root system. You can see the size of it here. And they've managed to push. This must have been a massive elephant bull to be able to push this tree over. So they've got a very deep root system. So not too many of these roots that spread out along just a little below the surface. But they've got this big thing that goes right down. You can see the hole that's been created by the pushing over of this tree. Hopefully there are no snakes in here. And you can see all the different roots that have been broken. But I mean, this is incredible. And how strong this animal is. I reckon it's a big bull, probably weighing around 12,000 pounds. And you can have a look. Let's see. We can do a bit of balancing. And you can see that they've fed on this tree. The wind nearly blew me over. It's so windy. You can see they've fed on this tree. And they've, well, let me just get to the right spot. So basically what's happened, you can see this is even too high for an elephant bull to reach these branches. So they fed off all the lower branches and got to a stage now, and we're heading into a drought, so they're really hungry. And they've pushed the whole tree down, and they've literally dismantled all the little branches, and I'm pretty sure that probably other elephants will come back and finish. You might find impala coming to feed off the leaves that have been pushed down. Trying to see if there's anything else in here. And it's even broken the branches on the tree behind. But I mean, this is an incredibly big tree, even for a massive animal like an elephant to push down. Oh, isn't that amazing? I want to show you something quickly. I need to move the car for it though. So I said the elephants have pushed that down, but they missed something. We have seen elephants feeding off it quite often. It is incredible. So there's still some soil attached to those root systems. And if we have a look over here, so firstly, the tree is not dead yet. As you can see, there's still a little one growing. And quite often when you see these trees that have been pushed down by elephants, they start growing in a different manner. So you'll notice that this might become the primary stem, this tiny little branch here. And that's quite new, and it's unusual, as you can see, to find branches like that. But the thing I spotted first was the asparagus. The wild asparagus is still growing out of this lump of soil that's still attached to the root system. And if we look even closer, over here is another tree species. This is a false marula that's also still growing out of this clump of clay, and it's actually just sprung a leaf. Incredible. Now, the asparagus, probably not going to survive, but there's a good chance that this false marula might survive. What often happens in situations like this is that they will start extending roots back down to the ground. But I think this tree, if the elephants don't feed on it too much, it's actually going to start growing over here. There's still enough roots that are in the soil that it's hopefully going to be able to survive. Now, elephants are really important in the environment because they do change their environment. Oh, Norman the wildebeest's watching me. Let's go have a look at him while I continue to chat. But I mean, this is a really big tree, even for a really big elephant to push down, especially with that tap root system. Oh, chilly. So, a herd of impala and normal Norman, Gormless Norman the wildebeest's arch nemesis from the open area across the way, was watching me as I was prancing about on that tree. We'll go see if we can have a look at them. Nice herd of impala and just the lone male wildebeest. Shamsung's wondering, could it have been a group effort to push down that massive acacia tree? No, I think that was a single bull from the tracks around and the dung there. I think it was just a single bull. Other elephants have come and fed off it, but I think it was just a single individual that actually did the pushing. Oh, this is a bad direction to drive because the wind's coming from behind us and I can actually taste the sand and the dust crunching between my teeth. Okay. Oh, and there's some kudu here as well. Oh, little fluffy ball. Little kudu. Got a bit of a fright there. Hello. You can see them. See that white tail as it disappears around the corner? Let's go forward a bit. So as I said, a lot of the animals, oh there we go, are going to be very nervous in this windy weather. And you can see that female kudu, because she's got a youngster, she's probably twice as skittish as she would normally be, and doubled with the fact that there's this gusting wind that's going to affect her hearing and her smell. Oh, they're running across in front of us. Now, one thing runs, everything runs, is a rule of the bush. The impala have now started running. They're not sure why they're running. And now the wildebeest's also unsure why. If he sees kudu running, he's thinking, ooh, what's going on? So there's normal Norman, looking bemused. The bemused look is definitely a look the wildebeest pull off the best. There we go. It's not uncommon to find these dominant wildebeest bulls that are protecting their little patch of open area to team up with other animals. The more eyes around, the better chance you have at spotting any predators around. So he's with a little bachelor herd of impala. And off he goes. So we haven't quite made it to the water holes yet, so that's where we're heading next. I just need to get out of this area because we're really, really low here and our comms can be a bit difficult. Fluffy impalas. Everyone's chilly this morning. Oh, there are some ladies. Only two. And there's a whole bunch of young boys to our left, but there's the big male who's keeping his very small harem, and keeping himself between him and his females and the males. And none of them are particularly old males. They all look like they're about 2 years old, the young males, and you can see he's an adult. He's actually a really nice big impala. You can see how red he is in this cold wind, all fluffed up for the warmth. So I'm just going to try to get up to some higher ground, and hopefully, I think this wind and this weather is playing havoc with our comms today. I've never had them this bad in this area, and I can unfortunately barely make out a word. So it's not that I'm ignoring your questions, I just can't hear them right now, so I'm going to head up to where a little bit higher where I know I should be able to hear a little bit better. And that's what this aerial is here. That is our comms back to final control. Now, I think it might be getting colder, even though the sun's up. We're going to head towards the water holes now. Hopefully we have some action around there. But while we do that, let's go see how James is doing on the other side of the reserve.
So cold. We've come now to the east. We're going towards Buffelshoek Dam as we intended to do earlier. And I was rather hoping just to maybe pick up some tracks of that lioness who we think has got cubs and is perhaps lactating somewhere close by here in the Great Valley of the Mulwati. We think that those cubs are now probably about 2 or 3 weeks old, and so we're not going to go wandering in there just yet. But she's going to come out fairly soon, and then we'll have cubbies all over the place. just to keep you posted on the Nkuhuma lionesses, their cubs are, or the Nkuhuma lioness who has had cubs, her cubs are fine on Torchwood, the ones that have been seen, and she's being viewed at the moment. I don't think they have any sight of the cubs, but I believe that the two little cubs that have been seen are absolutely fine. Unfortunately, Karula seems to have given us the slip yet again, gone down to the south on Little Gowrie, where the pickings are clearly easier than they are here. We're going to go up this rather treacherous road. Erlene, I'm sorry, I forgot completely about your question. Due to lack of signal, we lost it while I was answering. Now, human beings are by nature, well, some of us by nature are egalitarian, which means we hate each other's pain, and we hate the sight of orphans, and we don't want to be, we want to alleviate the suffering of orphans. I'm going to try and move this particular tree. While I do that, I'll answer Erlene's question. And so it is not uncommon for people to ask questions about animals that are a bit like us in that respect. So they look after the orphaned youngsters. And of course, elephants are the most obvious example. They definitely take on and adopt any youngsters whose mothers have died, as long as there's a lactating female around. Now this is a ziziphus tree, which means that I'm probably going to get hurt quite badly, and then I might say a bad word, but I'm going to try not to. And Erlene, lions, of course, are the other obvious example of animals that do exactly that. They don't necessarily adopt them, but they will certainly, I'm not having much success today, but they will certainly cross-suckle. So should a lioness die and there be another lactating female within the pride, then they will absolutely look after that little cub. But if there is no lactating female in the pride, then they won't.
Tree's
So,
still there, James. It's still there.
Yes, I know the tree's still there. Do you want to do it? Hoppy Pussfoot? No, Hoppy Pussfoot can't move, so he can't help me, you see. I think somebody else has tried to move this tree, so we're going to have to just go around it. So, Erlene, lions, yes, if there's another lactating female in the pride. But if, no non-pride member is going to adopt cubs that it finds. Has it ever happened before? It's possible. Is it likely to happen? Very unlikely. Oh, very nice. Brent has got some primates to show you.